we're going to focus on two regions to figure out what's happening with piracy, and that's the Indian Ocean region and the Gulf of Guinea. Going to look at some incidents, the motives, the status, and the solutions. This is the classic pitch. For those of you that don't know who we are a maritime risk management company now. We started as a private maritime security company, but we have evolved. And I'm not going to bore you with all these things. You can see them on the slides when you get the presentations. But anyway, what it says there is that we're good. And to prove that we're good, I'm showing you a map. Red is operations, green is clients. We have one client in Russia, but you know, half the globe turns green, huh? But getting into the real stuff of it. This is the global incident map for the past 1 year. As you can see, there are a lot of regions in the world that are affected by piracy and maritime aggression. Most importantly, though, it's the Indian Ocean region and the Gulf of Guinea that concerns the maritime community. What you see in Latin America is mostly drug-related. What you see in the Bay of Bengal is fishermen. Well, you know, the clashes between fishermen, basically. And what you see in Southeast Asia is a crazy mix of things that we can't do much about. So if we look at the Indian Ocean region, for the past year, we've had 27 reported incidents. Naturally, there are a lot more incidents that go unreported or underreported. These are the statistics from the IMB, out of which 10 were attacks. So what you see yellow there is basically an attack. And by attack, we mean a merchant vessel that has been shot at. Well, the ones that you see up in the Gulf of Oman and the Straits of Hormuz, they weren't really shot at. They were just bombed one way or another. In the Gulf of Guinea, which of course is my favorite area of the world, and Mr. Christensen came from Cyprus, 30 degrees, but civilized place. I came from Nigeria, 40 degrees, very civilized place. So, yeah, we've had 142 reported incidents in the past 12 months. 24 were attacks, and additionally 39 were hijackings. And when we say hijacking, it's all kidnap and ransom events. They will come on board, they will take crew, then they will demand ransom, and so on and so forth. So as an analysis, I know I'm going to hear a lot of people telling me that, Dimitris, there is no Somali-based piracy anymore. And to a certain extent, I agree, because we did a damn good job in the Indian Ocean and we pretty much scared them off. But they haven't gone away. They're still there. They're just doing something different. So the revision of the HRA, which was in effect from the 1st of May 2019, found us, the naval community, and Lloyd's opposed to it. It was implemented by BIMCO, Intertanko, Intercargo, OCIMF, and the ICC. Unfortunately, the message that passed was that things are pretty much safe. And we see a lot of complacency now, both from crews, but mostly from owners, managers, operators that want to save a buck and don't deploy security. However, on the 21st of April, there was a significant attack 270 nautical miles southeast of Mogadishu that involved 2 fishing vessels. The thing is, one was Korean, the other one was Spanish, and we're talking about big ships. They're 100-meter Steiner fishing trawlers. Only one of those 2 vessels had an armed security team, but they managed to cover both the fishing vessels, and eventually they were safe. However, EU NAVFOR Atalanta later confirmed that this was an active pirate action group from Haradere, which is on the Somali basin coast of Somalia. And they managed to intercept that pirate action group and make an arrest. So intent and capability is still there. I'm going to go a little bit deeper in regards to Somalia because it's important. So the slide to the picture on the right of Somalia entirely red is from the UK Foreign Office, and it tells you basically not to travel to Somalia. That makes sense. The map in the middle pretty much depicts the areas of control of the various entities in Somalia. The federal government has very little control. Somaliland and Puntland are doing much better. However, they do have conflict between them, and they formed a buffer zone in the disputed area. This buffer zone is pretty much lawless and serves as the Al-Shabaab corridor. This means that Al-Shabaab fighters and other criminal entities can use it to have safe access to the Gulf of Aden. Through the Gulf of Aden, the pirates have turned merchants. Basically, they're involved in illegal trade of weapons, narcotics, and people to and from the Arabian Peninsula. This gives them cash. It gives them maritime domain awareness. It gives them the ability to maintain their skiffs, their outboard engines, their weapons, and so forth. But most importantly, they can do soft approaches. So they approach a vessel, they see the reaction, if there's an armed team on board or not. The moment that the reaction is not going to be an armed team, we believe, we don't hope, but we do, but anyway, we believe that they're going to show more aggression, more intention. In regards to the Yemen War, there's very little that anybody can do. Basically, it does overspill into the maritime domain. It affects mostly Saudi interests. There is a naval blockade of Hodeidah from the Saudi-led coalition. Vessels going into Hodeidah still have to do an inspection, a UN inspection, either in Djibouti or at sea, if they're lucky and the inspectors are available. Hybrid threats. New thing. Well, it's an old thing that came back into the limelight. The events we had off Fujairah, the ones we had in the Gulf of Oman involving the Front Altair and the Kokuka Courageous, are things that we could never see coming. And security is limited against piracy and maritime aggression. We cannot protect adequately vessels that are targeted by state-sponsored actors. There are things we can do, but it doesn't involve weapons. And of course, help me here, the Stena Impero. Yes, thank you. I don't know why, I always confuse that vessel. Anyway, long story, was set free. Again, even if it had security on board, it would have made things much worse, especially if they were British. I'm Greek, by the way. The Gulf of Guinea, yes, the eastern part of Nigeria is a crazy place for ships and mariners. A lot of attacks, of course. And it's not just piracy. It's mostly militancy. So in Nigeria, the deal is this. You have the oil-producing states, rivers, cross rivers, Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, Delta, etc. And they have their own government because Nigeria is a federal state, it's a federal country. If the federal government doesn't share the profits from the export of crude with the local government, then the local government will push the militants that it has under its control to perform attacks in order to put pressure on the federal government to actually pay the money. It's as simple as that. So when this revenue is blocked, we have a lot of militancy. Now, because this militancy is expressed in the forms of attacking forcados or the FPSO Egina, for example, it also reflects onto other merchant vessels that are trading in the region that are easy targets. So, for example, if we have an intelligence-led attack, which is basically militants, we also have pirates and gangs. And they're the most dangerous because they don't have a lot of intelligence and they don't have clear instructions on what to do. They are trying to get crew from a vessel to show the militants, which are their superiors, that they're capable of doing this in the hope that they will be employed permanently by the militant groups and get a monthly payment. So these are the most dangerous kinds of criminals that are on the water in the Gulf of Guinea. Of course, there's a lot of corruption. Some will say that the Navy has something to do with piracy in the region. Some will say that government officials have something to do. And there's no evidence for or against that, but it's something that is widely discussed. Social issues, poverty and employment, of course, these issues do lead to people going into criminal activity for their own benefit. A new problem is that, just as in the Indian Ocean, people like us, companies like us, did a really good job and we suppressed it, we have made an effect in Nigeria as well. Not to the extent that we would like, because the government of Nigeria doesn't allow us to operate on our own. We have to work in tandem with the government security forces. We can't apply our own SOPs or RUFs. We have to follow their rule and law. However, there is more security present in the oil-producing region, which makes pirates try to find other venues that are easier for them. They've exported their techniques and expertise to countries such as Togo, Benin, Ghana, and recently to Cameroon. And Cameroon is becoming a big problem for everybody. The two red dots that you see just off Douala Anchorage, right, on the bottom side, are basically two vessels that were attacked on the 18th of August. They were at anchorage, which is a safe area. There were military assets just 1 nautical mile away from them. The incident happened at 11 at night, 2300. And from the one vessel, 9 crew members were taken, from the other one, 7. So you have a total of 16 people missing in a matter of 1 hour without any response from the government or a security force, despite the fact that they had a boat 1 nautical mile away. Why? Because nobody was prepared. There was no BMP-5 in place, there was no razor, there was no accommodation lockdown, and basically it was easy pickings. The response to this is strange, though. Cameroon is an interesting country. People in Africa say it's all of Africa compressed in one country. You have a lot of different tribes, you have a lot of different landscapes. But one thing that you do have that Africa doesn't have in general is the Rapid Intervention Battalion. This is an elite force that is not attached to the proper military, but reports to the president of the country. Now, the BIR cooperates with special forces of the US, of French. They fight Boko Haram, etc., and so forth. Their immediate response to this was to place armed soldiers of the BIR on board all vessels that are anchoring at Douala. But they didn't think twice, because they don't understand the marine environment, the maritime industry. If we have an incident on board a vessel without proper documentation for armed teams being on board, there's going to be serious liability for everybody, including the government of Cameroon. No flag state was asked. There was no contract signed. There was just a call to the master of the vessel saying, hey, do you want soldiers on board? Naturally, most of them said, yeah, sure, good thing. And this is the situation that we have now. However, it's not going to last very long. So those people that are happy with this agreement are going to be let down pretty soon. We're hopeful that proper private maritime security measures will be implemented in Cameroon shortly. Pirates are also helped by the Ambazonians. Ambazonia is the north and southwest border of Cameroon with Nigeria. It's the Anglophone region. You might have heard in the news that they're having clashes. Now the government is speaking with the Anglophones in order to find a solution. But those people there are actively supporting the pirates. Additionally, you will see in the blue slide, in the blue picture, that Cameroon is outside of the additional premiums area. So those vessels actually didn't have KNR cover. The bad guys look pretty bad, right? I love pictures of bad guys. But we look good too. Yeah, this is us. That's our boat. And yeah, just more of us. I just like to show pictures of us. People ask me if there's a solution for West Africa. No, really there is no solution to the problem. It's just going to carry on as it is. But we can provide solutions for the people that want to do something about it. So you need to be vigilant. Everybody needs to be vigilant. Crews, office personnel, security personnel, everybody. We need proper risk evaluation. We don't have to do things beyond and above what we really need. So I hear a lot of people saying, I want 2 escort vessels. I want 3 escort vessels. You don't need them. You just need 1. However, there was an incident where an escort vessel was deployed. It didn't do anything. Pirates went on board. They took 1 person. And we were involved actually in the delivery of that ransom and the release of that person. But that was another company. It wasn't us. Hopefully those owners will now employ us. Realistic risk mitigation measures are important. Working with a legitimate security provider is also important because there are a lot of illegal players, especially in West Africa. They will produce any kind of documentation you want to see. They will give you a due diligence package which is immaculate but entirely false. And build a relationship of trust with that 1, 2, 3 good security providers that you've chosen. So what we do is this entire list. Most importantly, we train people to understand the risk, and we provide them with the solutions to mitigate that risk. But you always have to look for equality. That's it. Thank you very much.